A reticent rookie applied to work as an armored truck driver, but his shooting skills were so terrible that the whole team looked down on him. But as soon as the robbers pointed their guns at the truck, that timid employee suddenly transformed into a brutal killing machine, landing headshots on each one without missing a single shot. He is not a police officer, nor is he a hero. He is a crime boss madly hunting for the person who shot his son in the liver, lungs, spleen, and heart. The story begins with Patrick, the most powerful man in the world, yet he accepted a job as a security guard for a dangerous money truck with a meager salary of $3,000 a month. What was more suspicious was that despite his superior shooting skills, he deliberately hid his abilities during the 10-meter close-range test. Every shot hit the target, but he intentionally avoided the bullseye, as if calculated beforehand. In the subsequent physical test, he only lifted weights a few times before pretending to lament that he was exhausted. Even in the reversing test, which wasn't difficult at all, he intentionally let the wheel hit the cardboard box before braking. The result was that he passed with a perfectly round score of 70, just fitting the employment standard. Exactly the number 70. Perfectly matching the required level. A little lower, and he would have failed outright. With this level, one shouldn't dream of joining the racing team. But doing this job was acceptable. He thought entering here would mean gently receiving a salary every month. But everyone knows that in this flashy land of Los Angeles, banks being robbed is a daily occurrence. Averaging 14 cases per week, 9 cases per day, which means every 48 minutes a bank is visited by robbers. On his first mission, sure enough, as soon as the wheels rolled, they encountered an incident. A pickup truck blocked the front of the vehicle, and a car rushed in from behind, creating a pincer movement that locked them in from both sides. Those people quickly subdued the escort team captain. They forced everyone to transfer all the money to the pickup truck behind. Open the door immediately, move all the money bags to the rear vehicle. The driving colleague was scared pale, intending to step on the gas to flee right then, but Patrick maintained an incredibly calm demeanor. "Don't get out of the car, let me handle it." Patrick obeyed the opponent's orders, taking turns carrying each money bag to the rear vehicle. But while leaving the task unfinished, he intentionally dropped a bag onto the ground. The ringleader shouted over the walkie-talkie, warning them not to act recklessly, otherwise the situation would be very unpredictable. Immediately, he ordered his subordinate to get down and pick up the money bag and throw it inaccurately. "What are you doing?" "Sorry, my hand slipped." "Oh my heavens. Lord have mercy. Please don't resist anymore. Just let them take the money. Do you want to drag us to our deaths? Just give the money to them. Are you crazy?" Watching the last one hurriedly retreating from the scene in panic, Patrick slowly followed like the Grim Reaper calling a name. Once someone touches a bald guy like him, that person is considered to have driven themselves into a dead end with no escape and must certainly pay the price for what they have caused. "Who do you work for?" "Mind your own business." "What did you say?" "I said mind your own business. Watch yourself." Just then, the colleague from behind ran up, stunned by Patrick's marksman skills, but he didn't care and immediately went to lift each mask of this group. The reason he acted this way was to hunt down the person who killed his son. It turns out that 5 months ago, Patrick was taking his son to school, but halfway there the boy demanded to eat baked pastries. So Patrick pulled over to the curb and personally got out to buy some for his son. But unexpectedly, while he was waiting to get the pastries, an incident occurred on his son's side. An armored truck from the Federal Reserve entered their line of sight. When running to the area under the overpass, a group of road workers suddenly blocked the truck's path. Immediately after, they simultaneously put on masks, revealing their true ambitions. A series of skillful operations, fast as lightning, took place. Clearly, this was a meticulously planned robbery. Not only that, this group also brought extremely comprehensive tools. They used a blowtorch to break the door hinge lock, opening an entrance in a split second, then threw a jamming device inside, causing the escort staff to lose the ability to resist. In the blink of an eye, they had to complete everything within 2 minutes. Because 2 minutes later, the police would arrive. At first, everything went extremely smoothly. But unfortunately, Patrick's son accidentally witnessed the entire event. In a panic, the boy hurriedly called his dad. But the call hadn't even connected before he was dragged out of the car by the robbery group. Initially, they just needed to let them take the money and leave, and it would be over. But the 2 guards were being controlled, yet someone still risked their life to resist just for a salary of $3,000 a month. He secretly pulled out a gun hidden on his person, intending to take a risk. Meanwhile, the colleague was trembling with fear, trying hard to beg his friend not to do anything foolish. But that guard was determined to follow his own will. "Don't." He had underestimated the level of cruelty of this group, but right at this moment, Patrick's son curiously glanced at the guy whose hood had been pulled down. To avoid being exposed, the robbery group acted extremely ruthlessly, determined to wipe out every trace, making anyone who saw it horrified. Just then, Patrick returned and witnessed the entire tragedy happening right before his eyes. He rushed forward in intense emotion, but was met with a cold and cruel reaction from the robbery group. Patrick took many bullet wounds and collapsed on the road, but his eyes remained pinned on the person who caused the disaster for his family. This group did not know that they had just provoked a person who absolutely should not be touched. A few weeks later, despite sustaining 6 fatal wounds, Patrick miraculously survived. The pain of loss was so great that he collapsed completely. Only the desire to find justice was the only thing helping him stand firm. Losing his only child, even his wife suggested divorce due to excessive grief, even blaming all the sins on his head. He believed that only when the evildoer paid a worthy penalty could the resentment in his heart be relieved. Immediately after, Patrick drove alone to the rooftop of a skyscraper to secretly meet a high-ranking official of the FBI. The two didn't need to fence with many words. The official directly pulled a paper from his coat pocket and gave it to Patrick. On it was a list of dangerous criminals. Those who, due to a lack of evidence, were still wandering outside the law. Patrick told him not to intervene. He could, in 2 weeks, clean up the pile of trash that the FBI hadn't been able to handle in 20 years. And that was exactly what that official was waiting for. After reaching an agreement, Patrick immediately summoned his 3 closest subordinates. He ordered them to find the person who fired the gun that day at all costs. Within just a few short days, suspicious names on the list were one by one eliminated from suspicion by them. Anyone involved or considered suspicious had to face very fierce punishments. However, despite trying every method, no one among them matched the characteristics of the person who actually committed the crime. Because the group that day was equipped extremely professionally, acted quickly and accurately, completely different from petty robberies. Continuously searching for many weeks without results made Mike extremely discouraged. He said if they continued like this, their own organization would also suffer heavy losses. So Mike proposed changing tactics. For an armored truck robbery to be done so tightly, clearly, there couldn't be a lack of an insider within. Hearing the subordinate analyze, Patrick also admitted Mike spoke with reason. Therefore, he immediately created a fake identity to go to the cash transport company to apply as an escort guard. And that is what led to the scene opening the story. In the test, he intentionally performed just enough to pass to avoid attracting too much attention. After starting work, Patrick took advantage of the time after his shift to secretly take photos of the employee IDs of all his colleagues. He used a phone to secretly save each person. That night, Patrick sought out Dana because he discovered Dana had an illicit income. It was very possible that was the money she received from a shady deal. So he demanded Dana give a satisfactory explanation. Initially, Dana thought Patrick was joking, but he immediately showed a serious attitude that made her scared. "Oh my God, that's my savings, okay? What does it matter to you? You have 10 minutes to clearly declare the origin of that money." All right, please be calm." Only then did Dana realize he was completely serious. She had to confess the entire origin of the money. It turned out to be money a customer carelessly left behind. Taking advantage when no one around noticed, Dana secretly put it in her pocket. She confessed she was just a person with sticky fingers, completely uninvolved with that gang. If she were truly an insider, the money she received certainly wouldn't be so meager. Patrick temporarily believed Dana's words. After all, her family was depending on the safety he guaranteed, and she wouldn't dare fabricate stories. But in reality, that group was made up of former soldiers who had fallen into unemployment. Their leader was a sergeant named Jackson. They used to risk their lives fighting for the fatherland, but after being discharged, they could only find temporary jobs. Some worked as supermarket cashiers, some worked as masons, and some even had to work as porters to make a living. In a dead-end situation, they chose to fall into the path of sin, aiming at money trucks. That time, they robbed over $1 million. Although the intermediary skimmed off a portion, so their share wasn't much, it was still enough to make them feel that this way of making money was too easy, breeding greed. So the whole group decided to pull off a bigger job, pooling most of their capital to buy better equipment. Small, petty deals were no longer in their sights. They shifted their target to a large money depot, wanting to execute a final deal and then wash their hands of the business. Therefore, they again sought out the person suspected to be the insider in the money transport company. Meanwhile, the story of Patrick defeating the robbery group earlier caused a shock to the whole company, but also very quickly attracted the attention of the police. Although everything seemed very reasonable, the supervisor still maintained a suspicious attitude. He intended to use this excuse to fire Patrick, but the big boss had his own calculations. After all, the money transport industry is always delicious bait. Unexpected situations happen like a daily occurrence. Rarely catching a master like Patrick, the boss naturally had to keep him so Patrick could continue to protect the company. Indeed, not long after, they encountered robbers again. But this time, the robbery group was even more professional than before. A masked man continued pumping gas into the vehicle, causing vision loss. The captain coughed chokingly and had to reluctantly get out of the car to avoid danger. Patrick was also surrounded by smoke, forced to step out of the vehicle. However, when he covered his mouth and nose, pushed the door, and slowly stepped out, the group that was very aggressive suddenly stopped in astonishment. They looked at him full of wariness, then panicked and retreated as if meeting their nemesis. "The car door is wide open. Why stop the action? You go over there and see." That weird reaction stunned the captain. Clearly, this man was not simple at all. The unusual situation quickly attracted the attention of the company leadership. They even invited FBI agents to interrogate Patrick. But Patrick only calmly replied, "At the boundary of life and death, who wouldn't erupt with strength beyond their limits?" Unable to dig up anything more, the agent immediately changed tactics, pushing the surveillance video toward Patrick. Although the image was quite blurry, Patrick's calm face briefly revealed a look of pain. That was the moment his son was hit by a bullet and collapsed. But because the distance was too far, it was impossible to see the culprit clearly, and the police also couldn't identify that group. Luckily, Patrick calmed down in time, so he passed the investigation, but he didn't know his true identity had been recognized by the two agents. Immediately after, they reported to their superior, but the superior asked them to temporarily stay put and act as if they had never seen anything. Time passed, and Patrick worked at the transport company for 5 full months. Until that day, when he had just completed the last escort trip of the day. On the way back, the captain suddenly said a few hard-to-understand sentences. "You know I value you very much, right? There is something I have to tell you. As for me, I have a few brothers. I help them, and occasionally they also help me back. My comrades, I help them access money trucks to execute plans. To put it bluntly, I am the one leaking internal information to them. Do you understand my meaning?" "No, Captain, I don't understand. I tip them off as to which car is easy to attack, and then they will handle that car." The two guards back then got caught in an unfortunate incident, and the young boy just met risk at the right time. "We are a very organized group, operating with discipline almost like the army. Do you keep up with me? Understand 100%. Why do you guys need me? We want to execute the heist of a lifetime. Just one single time, then leave this cycle. When do we proceed? Right today, we have no other choice. What do I benefit from this? Your life." Only at this moment did Patrick gradually understand. It turned out the insider of the attack group was the captain managing the convoy. Patrick pretended to hesitate, then nodded in agreement, because he was originally waiting for exactly this bandit gang to show their faces. Immediately after, the captain quickly turned off the monitoring and positioning system on the vehicle, stepped on the gas, and rushed straight into his secret basement. Not long after, the monitoring center called to ask about the situation. The captain lied that the camera was malfunctioning and they were fixing it urgently. Because the vehicle wasn't carrying money, the switchboard didn't mind much. Right after the captain's signal, a black SUV quietly entered. A few people in the robbery group, equipped to the teeth, stepped down from the car. To prevent risk, they tied Patrick's 2 hands to limit his action. After that, all of them crawled inside the money truck compartment. After 5 months of preparation, the plan to attack the headquarters was officially activated. The captain secretly led them into the money transport company area. The group passed 2 layers of security control without meeting any obstacles. Before the guards could even react, the attackers quickly rushed out from the back door of the vehicle like a swarm of hornets. Within a split second, the whole lobby was subdued, lying flat on the ground. Immediately after, one guy dragged Patrick along, going straight to the important area where the money was kept. Warehouse guards only received a modest salary, so who would be foolish enough to risk their life? They resignedly put their weapons down and raised their hands to surrender. Right then, 4 other guys were escorting the captain, the one who hadn't revealed his true face yet. They pressured the control room staff to open the door, because they just needed to pass this checkpoint for the plan to be complete. But the guard had bulletproof glass protection, so he immediately pressed the alarm bell. "Open the door, otherwise they will kill me." The captain lay flat down. However, that group had prepared well for the gunfight situation. They used protective gear, so they were almost unaffected by the guards' firepower. Although the guards reacted fiercely, the situation was still in their hands. Right then, relying on their firepower advantage, they quickly broke the security door and continued controlling the important area. They opened the main door, letting the commander step in to take over. The whole plan was going smoothly, and they started sweeping assets in the warehouse. Each bundle of money was stuffed into large bags, with a total value of up to $1.6 billion. If no incident occurred, this haul was enough for them to retire forever. But right when everything seemed settled, a guard hiding unexpectedly caused a disturbance. That action caught the whole group's attention and created a golden opportunity for Patrick. He took advantage of the moment the person watching him was distracted, quickly controlling the opponent with a dangerous but silent move. With the opponent eliminated from the fight, Patrick immediately escaped the dangerous situation. Then he untied the rope, but when checking the identity of that guy, it was still not the person he was hunting. He quickly supported his colleagues to leave the area, advising them to run as far as possible. Just as Patrick was calculating the next step, he noticed the equipment set of a guy in that group and immediately came up with a bold plan. He put on that guy's protective suit to easily blend in. Then he approached a guy in the group, raised the device in his hand to signal him to stop, and demanded that guy remove the helmet part. Confirming it was not the target he was finding, he immediately handled him neatly. The noise emitted made the remaining group alert. All immediately focused their attention toward Patrick, but Patrick didn't flinch at all. On the contrary, he calmly stuffed a phone into the money bag. Just as he turned to leave, The security camera accidentally recorded his silhouette. Right then, Patrick appeared from the side. Unexpectedly, that person panicked and fired toward him. Luckily, the protective armor layer helped Patrick avoid a fatal wound. Immediately after, the two sides collided at close range. During the tense struggle, Patrick was unfortunately injured in the leg, but he still timely regained control of the situation. To avoid further complications, the robbery group was forced to end the plan earlier than intended. Meanwhile, two security staff hiding in the money truck heard reinforcements were coming, so they coordinated to stall for time. In the chaos, the insider captain silently appeared behind their backs. He pretended to stand on their side to create trust, even borrowing a weapon from Sticky. But right after holding the gun, his attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. The truth exposed made them unable to react in time. What the hell? Just when the robbery group prepared to retreat, Patrick immediately raised his gun, releasing a series of bullets creating a loud sound to pin down that group. Finally, he caused a robber to be hit by a bullet, losing mobility. When Patrick was preparing to control another target, the insider captain suddenly ambushed him from the side, making Patrick collapse. Other security staff still didn't know he was the traitor. He continued using the old trick to lure one more person to show up, then immediately acted ruthlessly. Confirming no one else could block the way, he threw the wallet back into the car, closed the car door, and left coldly. What made Patrick more choked with resentment was that he encountered exactly the person directly related to his son's death. But because time was too urgent, that group was forced to flee without time to finish off Patrick completely. Very quickly, they drove ramming away the police car blocking the iron gate and immediately started a death race with the authorities. Alarm lights flashed everywhere. Finally, they brought the car into a building exactly like the script, then raised a barrier pillar to temporarily prevent all police cars outside. At this time, they only had a meager 4 minutes to disperse all the money. The group originally had 7 people, now dropped to only 3 left, in which Jackson was heavily injured, his health clearly weakened. And the one who caused the tragedy for Patrick was plotting a scheme. He told the captain to move the money to the elevator first, while he pretended to support Jackson, who was exhausted. Now they didn't need to keep any equipment anymore. When Jackson stopped breathing, the other guy calmly returned to the captain and lied that Jackson didn't make it. The captain, hearing that, also felt uneasy, but he didn't expose it because the fewer people sharing, the more money there was. But right when Jan opened the car door, the captain intended to act first. Clearly, he wanted to monopolize this treasure. Only pity was that he was still slower than the opponent by a beat. Damn it, lucky you are too slow. Human nature standing before a mountain of money is truly cheap. Finally, Jan hugged the whole pile of money, but whether he had the life to enjoy this money was another story. That night, Jan went home excitedly pouring a glass of wine to celebrate, his mind starting to calculate whether to buy a villa or buy a supercar first. But right then, the phone bell rang loudly. He followed the sound, discovering in the money bag was a strange phone. Right then, a deep male voice rang out from behind. "You don't intend to answer the phone?" Jan immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He slowly turned his head back, only seeing a balding man calmly sitting there as if he had waited for a long time. Jan initially thought this person came for money, so he intended to use half the looted wealth to negotiate. But unexpectedly, Patrick didn't care about money. In his heart only remained a single purpose, and that was to collect a blood debt. He also didn't act immediately, but threw out a file and signaled him to look. Inside was a detailed file about the case related to Patrick's son. The moment Jan saw the photo of the ill-fated young man, he realized the seriousness of the problem. Let me repeat clearly. That place and below too. Every single bullet. After all, what do you want? I want you to bear responsibility. Too excessive. And I also want you to understand clearly the price to pay for your stupid decision. By the way, I'm telling you, the boy's name was Dougie. And just like that, his turbulent life finally ended because of a mistake that could not be salvaged. Ending the story, Patrick handed the whole scene back to the FBI people to clean up. Although he had fulfilled the vow to his son's spirit, the pain of loss in his heart could forever never heal. The movie ends here. Thank you, friends, for watching.